from the Posy Box, and I am so excited today to show you how to make this adorable crepe paper pumpkin. There's just a few things that we need to make this project, so I'll show you really quick before we start. I'm using peach crepe paper, that's number 17A5. I'm using mint green crepe paper, that's number 565. I'm using 4 pieces of tissue paper to form the base, and that's 20 by 30 inch tissue paper. And I'm using 4 pieces of 22 gauge wire. And I'm using scissors and tacky glue. And that's all you need to make this pumpkin. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do to make our pumpkin is to create a base. And to do this, I'm going to use 4 pieces of 22 gauge wire and 4 pieces of tissue paper. Now I'm going to take this tissue paper and crinkle up one sheet at a time until I make a big ball. Now I'm going to take a wire and start wrapping it around the tissue paper. Find the middle. And twist the wire so it tightly wraps around the paper. Now I'm going to do 2 more. Now I've got a nice pumpkin shape and a stem. Now that I have this nice pumpkin shape, I'm going to cover it with some scraps. I want a nice smooth surface to start building my pumpkin. Stretch out your paper. Use a light color like white, or maybe the same color that you're going to make your pumpkin in. Add some stripes of tacky glue. And start wrapping around your shape. Okay, this is good. Everything's all covered and we're ready to start the next step. The next step is to work on these side segments right here. And to do this, I've got peach crepe paper. I've got 9 pieces that are 2 inches wide and 5 inches long. And each piece has the machine line running right through the center. Very important. And with each piece, I'm going to taper the end I'm going to cut in a curved line. So I've got a football shape with machine line right in the middle. Do this to all 9 pieces. Now take each piece and feel for the indent of the machine line. And at that point, you want to fold each piece in half. Use the machine line as a guide. And really make a nice sharp fold all the way down the piece. Just like that. And now we're going to stretch just right here. Make a curve. Just stretch that little edge apart. And stop. Don't stretch this part right here. And leave that as is. So now we've got now we have a curved shape just like this, and do that with all 9 pieces. Okay, we've got all of our shaped side segments, and we're going to be attaching them to our base near the stem, wrapping around, and at the bottom. So open this piece up just a little bit. And be applying some tacky glue at the top and the bottom of the piece, just like this. A good amount of coverage, and then also a little line on the sides. Just like that. And now I'm going to take one of the sides and attach it right near the stem. And the other side gets attached right at the bottom. Gently press down on the side of the piece to secure it with the tacky glue. You may need to hold it for just a minute to get the glue to really grab. Now I'm going to take another piece . So I've applied tacky glue to the second piece, just like I did on the first one. And now I'm going to place it right next to the first piece and allow for an overlap right here, about 1/8 of an inch. It's okay if it sticks out past the middle. The other pieces are going to eventually cover this. And gently press the sides to get the glue to stick on this piece. I'm going to set one piece aside for the end, and I'm going to do these remaining pieces exactly like these two. Okay, we have 8 side segments all attached, and you can see here that there is one spot left for the last piece. So I'm going to take this, and before putting any glue on it, I'm going to hold it up to make sure that it's a good match for the size. Sometimes you may need to trim it a little bit because this will be overlapping on 2 sides, not just one. I want to make sure that it's a good fit. So make sure it's overlapping on both sides, and this looks really good just as it is. So I'm just going to trim it up here at the top and bottom just a little bit. Maybe taking off about 1/8 of an inch, just a tiny, tiny bit. All right, now we're ready to apply the glue and put this last piece on. Okay, and we're ready to go. Okay, looks good. Everything's in place. Now that all of my segments are attached, I'm going to go through and just press down gently on all the seams. Make sure that everything is stuck down a little bit. The top and the bottom areas are where the pieces really need to be securely stuck. And these seams you do want to be glued, but it's not as important to have it completely stuck down like it is on the top and the bottom. So I'll just go through and just give a little bit of a press. Make sure there isn't anything that is completely missed. There's a few little spots where the paper is sticking out a little bit from the base, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Remember that pumpkins in nature are a little bit wonky, so if your pumpkin is wonky too, then it's perfect. All right, look at that cute pumpkin shape. So I'm going to set this aside to dry for a little bit, maybe about ½ an hour, and then we'll finish the stem. Okay, it's time to finish the pumpkin up with a nice thick stem. So the green I'm using here is mint green. And I'm going to start with using some wide strips. This is about 1 inch wide. And I'm going to wrap the stem, and I'm going to focus right here. I want this part to be nice and thick. So I'm going to just stretch this out just a touch, just like that, just to help soften the paper a little bit. But I really want to keep the texture of the crepe. It's going to make a nice, natural looking pumpkin stem. So here I'm going to apply just a few strips of glue. You need at least 2 on a strip this wide. I'm even going to put a little extra. And I'm going to start wrapping right at the base of this stem. And I really want it to snug up right against where the stem meets the pumpkin. So I'm going to make sure that it's down really as low as I can get. I've got it wrapped around here several times, and now I'm going to go angle this upwards a little bit so that I do get some paper coverage up here. I want to let the top of the stem taper a little bit, so I don't want it to be as thick. And I'm going to go ahead and give this paper a little bit of a twist too. So I've got some paper coverage up here at the top. Now I'm going to start moving downwards again. Kind of twist it as I go. And this stem is pretty rough right now. It's not really very close to being finished. So you'll notice that there's a lot of loose paper, and that's okay at this point. Just make sure that this has enough glue here at the end to really stick it. So now I'm going to go in and really squeeze this paper and even give it a twist so that it really wraps around the end of this stem really well. So it's getting there, but we're not quite finished yet. I'm going to take another one of these strips and thicken this bottom section up even more. And as I'm wrapping, I am pulling just a little bit, but I do want to keep the texture in the crepe, so I'm not stretching it out very much. Just enough to get it snug onto the stem. And now I'm going to go back down so that I'm wrapping closer to the base again. And this is about where I want to be in terms of thickness. So this is good, and now I'm going to add some finishing touches to the stem. So the next thing I'm going to do to finish my stem is make a transition in between the stem and the base of the pumpkin. And to do that, I have these pointy pieces. These are about 2.5 inches tall and 1/2 inch wide. And I'm going to take the end of this piece and just give it a little bit of a curl with my thumb and finger, just so it's got a little curl just like that. The next thing I'm going to do with this piece is attach it to the stem, and most of the piece is going to be glued onto the stem with just a little bit, maybe the bottom 1/2 inch or so, curling onto the base of the pumpkin. So I'm going to do that with all of the pieces, and I'm going to attach them so that they're evenly distributed all around the stem. So I'm going to put quite a bit of glue here, and I'm even going to put a little dot here at the bottom where it's going to meet the pumpkin base. All right, and now I'm just going to give this a little squeeze, make sure it's securely attached. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of the next pieces. Okay, now that these are all attached, I'm going to go around and give everything a nice squeeze. Make sure it's all glued on there well. And now for the last step, I'm going to take some thinner strips. These are probably about 1/4 or 1/2 inch wide. And I'm going to stretch them just a little bit. Keep some of the texture in there. We'll apply some glue. And now I'm going to start wrapping near the top of these stem pieces. I just want a nice, smooth transition all the way up to the top of the stem. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a diagonal wrap and pull the paper just a little bit as I go up to get a nice snug fit. And do one more for the very top. All right, and here we go. Our stem is nearly finished. Give it a little twist, taper that very final point. You could leave the stem as is. You could give it a little curl. You could attach a leaf or attach a vine. So here's your adorable little pumpkin. I hope you had fun with this tutorial and have a happy, happy Halloween. Thanks a lot and hope to see you soon.